Hello, Opening Pathways viewers. It's Tom LeNoble, and welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited today. I have Kim Barnes with me from Barnes and Conti Associates, and they're a global training and development company. Kim, welcome to Opening Pathways.
Thank you, Tom. Happy to be here.
Yes, I'm great that you're here. So, briefly tell us a little bit about Barnes and Conti so my viewers know who I'm talking with.
Barnes and Conti has been around for about 40 years. We're based in Berkeley, California. We work with the kinds of skills that you don't necessarily learn in graduate school or in engineering school or even in business school, but you find you need when you are out there and you need to be a leader. So those
Wonderful.
those are the skills we focus on. For
So,
example,
yes.
influence, um, leading innovative teams, um, intelligent risk taking, um, things of that complexity.
Yeah, important things you need if you're in the workforce for sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So,
Good. Tell me what was the first thing that sparked the idea for you to have your company?
well, if we go back far enough, it was my realization that I don't do very well working for other people. So I'm sort of I like to initiate, I like to create, I like to be part of a team. Um, and I like to work with people who have values that are aligned with mine and are interesting and can't always have that when you're going into a job. So at a certain point in my life, I decided I wanted to make my own job and make my own team and be able to do the creative things that I love doing.
I hear that from a lot of the entrepreneurs on my podcast is it's
Yeah,
the flavor of I didn't want to work for anybody else. Somehow
yeah.
that's the bottom line. So I'm curious before you found the company, what were their key chapters in the backstory? What was Kim all about before Barnes and Conti?
Well, I was always a teacher from the time I was a kid, and I used to gather the other kids and in the summer and teach them things, whether they wanted to learn them or not. And then I got my undergraduate degree in special education, and I worked with kids who were smart but had learning problems or emotional problems, and were very didn't fit into regular school environments very well. So I did that for a number of years, and I really loved it. I particularly liked working with the bad boys for some reason. They were a lot of fun. And some of them have grown up to be, corporate executives, I think. So people are people, and I've learned how to teach people who learn in different ways. And then later, I learned to design uh, learning so that people could get at it in ways that worked for them.
Interesting. I love this idea of working with people that need some extra attention that don't quite fit in, and yet with that attention, they can excel and do very
Yes,
well. Um,
exactly. Yeah.
I'm grateful that you did that work, and I'm sure my viewers find it inspirational. Tell me, did you have early role models that sent you in the direction that you took?
I had a couple of people who were mentors to me while I was still working in other people's systems, but who really inspired me, who supported me, who trusted me even when I was quite young, and that was really helpful. So my father worked for himself for a while, but that was because, like me, he couldn't really work for anybody else. But his business was sort of limited, and it was in the house. And if I'd paid attention to that, I probably wouldn't have done it. But I like the independence, and I like the having the ability to um, take things from my brain and make them manifest in a way that other people can use them.
Yes, yes. Did you have a like a first challenge that you faced as a leader as you were building the company, and what did it teach you?
I think, yeah, I had a very big challenge at a certain point when people that I had been working closely with um, decided that they could do it better in another way and left the company and started something that was competitive with what we did. So, along with a very, very kind lawyer, we found a way to make that not work for them. And we ended up getting the revenue from people they had sold this to.
I see.
So that was helpful. And I think what I learned from that is trust but verify, you know, because these were people I did have a lot of trust in. Um, and it never occurred to me that something like that would happen. So I think it wasn't so much an emotional blow, although there was some of that because I considered these people to be friends. But I think it made me more cautious.
Yes, yes. You know, this idea of trust and verify, I hear as a theme on these podcasts of people's experiences.
Yeah.
Trust, yes, trust, but be sure you verify. Has there
Mhm.
any been a time on this journey that you doubted your vision, and how did you get through it?
I I would say there probably have been a number of times when I've said, how on earth are we going to make this work? Um, and there have been times when I haven't made it work very well. But I'm an optimist. And and also if one path doesn't work, I like to see what other paths there are. And so I think what I've learned is trust myself, but verify. And if one path isn't working for you, look for another path that will get you to a similar place or maybe an even better place. But know when something isn't working and be willing to stop doing it.
Yes,
So that was a big lesson for me.
good wisdom you're sharing. I'm interested to know, when the traction started for you, what was your secret to getting customers? How did that start?
It started when I left the large research lab that I'd been working in and went out on my own. Um, I started collaborating with somebody who was a mentor of mine and who taught me a lot. And so at first, I worked with him in his organizations. And I think for anybody that's interested in doing that, when that's possible for you, it's a great start. Um, and then um, somebody came to me and said, I can't do this anymore. Will you take this client for me? And then that client became a very important customer. And a lot of things grew from that because that company failed almost right after I began working with them. But all of the principal people went to different organizations and they became my first set of clients.
Wow, it's a
So
great
it wasn't
story.
so good for that company, but it was very good for me
It's a
in that.
great story. Yes, a great story of a referral that turned into a gold mine, it sounds like.
It
So,
did.
yes.
Yeah.
We
Oh, it's a silver
I'm
mine.
interested to talk to people with, we're in this world of AI and technology that's moving so fast, and it's kind of controversial how people feel about AI, although I'm embracing it and think it's one of the greatest things that's happened in a really long time in technology, but technology moves really quickly. And so I'm interested in how you at your company have tried to balance these bold innovation moves along with the sustainability of keeping the lights on.
Well, it's challenging when you're a small company and you don't have deep pockets, which we don't. Um, the thing about this particular innovation, AI, is that I don't think it requires deep pockets in the same way that previous technological innovations have. So
Interesting.
we're doing a lot of thinking about it right now. Um, I wouldn't say that we've actively taken a lot of steps, but I don't know where it's going to go. I think it's exciting. I think finding ways to work alongside it rather than feel fearful that it will replace you, because it may, but then you will be able to find another path, as I had said before, using it. So I'm excited to see what happens with it. And I have a very good colleague who is working very hard to understand not only how to use it in a helpful way, but also um, how to lead and manage in a situation where you have gone in for a lot of AI.
Yes.
Um, yeah, and
Inter-
I think that's going to be one of the bigger challenges ahead is how do you work with a team that's depending on technology for a lot of things that used to be done by human beings.
yes. Let's talk about teams. I'm interested to know what core leadership principles you use in growing and managing your team.
Well, there's one that's, I think, maybe the most important, which is let people know what your vision is, what your expectations are, and don't try to make them do it your way. Just be clear about the end and let them work on the means. You can be there to support, you can be there to suggest, but I think you'll be pleasantly surprised to find that other people can figure out better ways to do things than you can often.
Yes, viewers, that
So
was
that's
some
number
wise
one.
wisdom from Kim. You might want to rewind 10 seconds and hear that again. That was some wise women, wise wisdom on how to work with your team. I'm curious, Kim, was there ever a risky decision you took that paid off? Tell me about it.
Um, I can think of several. One, one would be hiring somebody that nobody else really thought would be a good fit, who has turned out to be an excellent fit over many years. Um, another, another was when we decided just to give up the office and go completely virtual. I don't know how much that was a risky decision and how much it was a way of reducing our risk. It was both. But I trust it because we already had team members who were remote. And so let's just all be remote. And I think just by the way, I think that works more easily when you actually do know each other face to face. And then being remote is not, it's not as distancing as it might otherwise be. So you and I have met in person, Tom. And so when I talk to you, it's like just talking to you. Whereas if I'm meeting someone for the first time in this way, it's not as easy. It's not as useful. So,
Yes, yes. Remote is risky. I remember taking a company after the pandemic, and we took it, all of our coursework remote, and I wasn't even sure we could pull it off. And it worked really well. In fact, there's been some huge benefits to it. Now I'm thinking of ways of how do you possibly bring people back together in some manner, not the same, but some way where I think people are wanting to actually have face-to-face interactive experiences again of some sort. What values are non-negotiable with your team?
well, certainly being honest with each other, not trying to work. around other people. If you have an issue with somebody, you talk it out directly, or get a third party to help, but don't go around the person you want to deal with. And so that's really important. Um, I think making a commitment to, I don't like to use the term thinking outside the box because that's really been overused, but making a commitment to withhold judgment on ideas, to be willing to be um, open, even sometimes um, put things out that are not, that you know aren't possible, but might lead you in the right direction. So don't, in other words, don't edit yourself when you're in the process of putting ideas together or putting them out there. Um, being when we were actually in a real space, we had um, some informal rules about um, not barging in on each other. Letting people know when you wanted to come in. We always had a mixture of introverts and extroverts, so that kind of respect was important. Um, and that's still true when we have team meetings. Um, I think absolutely doing the very, very best you can for your partners, for your customers, and and for yourself, doing work that you can be proud of, and being generous with your ideas and with your feedback, and above all, not being defensive, being open to feedback yourself, asking for it, listening to it, taking it in, and then you decide what to do about it.
Thank you,
Those
Kim.
are a few.
Viewers, that's another round of Kim's wisdom. Back it up a little bit and listen to that again about how to work with your people. Kim, I'm interested in knowing, we all keep metrics on our business, and how do you define success besides the metrics? Not just the metrics, what makes you know that you've been successful?
Well, we get a lot of feedback from our customers, and the best way to know if you've been successful is to uh, stay in relationship with the people that you're working with, uh, or at least the leadership, so that you have an opportunity to know how are people using these skills that we taught, what difference is it making, what um, I mean, one simple metric is do they come back for more? You know, so many of our customers are customers that we've worked with for many, many years, and we've formed a long-term collaborative relationship with them. And that when that exists, when people trust you, when they will call you when they don't know who else to call for something they need, that feels very successful to me.
Yes, yes. Listen to the customer. That's what I hear behind that. What's the next bold vision for Barnes and Conti?
I'd like to see us expand our global reach. We already do work with people in a number of different parts of the world. I would just like to have more people who are well trained to deliver our programs in different languages. We have some of our work in Spanish and Portuguese and Chinese, few other like French, etc., a few other languages. I'd like to grow that. I'd like to see us gain more capacity to deliver these learning experiences to people in
Good,
different parts of the world.
exciting.
Yeah,
I'm interested in knowing, for my viewers, what are you most hopeful about in the world right now?
that's a really hard question, Tom. It's a difficult time in the world. Um, I'm I'm hopeful that people would be willing to talk about their values to one another. across all sorts of lines and take a step back from judging one another and putting ourselves
Yes.
in conflict with people that are different to us in some way. Um, so that I feel hopeful when that happens, and I feel very discouraged when I see the tribalism that has developed in the last, I mean, it's been around forever, right? But I think we had less of it 10 years ago than we have now, and I'm
Yeah.
concerned about it.
Yeah. It seems to swell and contract, and we're in a swelling
Yeah,
period, it seems like. If resources weren't a constraint, what wild idea would you pursue?
I think it's one of those questions I wish you'd asked me before we started, because I'm always full of wild ideas, but but choosing one is always a challenge. Um, I I would like everybody to be able to tell their story. Um, I would like us to be able to listen to one another's stories. And I haven't quite figured out a way to organize that. And this is related to what I told you before, that we, we don't do a great job of listening to people who are different from us. And I'd like to find a way to make it exciting and interesting to hear stories from people who didn't grow up where you did, or how you did, or
Yes.
with the same culture, the same interests and experience. So I guess in my deepest heart, I'm still kind of a hopeful peacemaker.
Yes. I hear
And
that.
yeah, I'm not naive about it after all these decades, but I think there's room for us to do that better. And I'd like to see that, in schools. I'd like to see that at workplaces and communities, that we make that effort to consciously reach across boundaries.
Yes, yes. I talk with a lot of my clients. They can speak to me about not feeling like they're being heard, and often one of the roots is we tend to listen thinking about how we're going to respond versus listening and
Exactly.
trusting how we'll respond. So we actually hear what the other person is saying and we're present to it. So I agree with you. We could all listen more to each other and learn more from each other. So I have one final question for you.
And may I just add one thing?
Yes, yes, of course.
Excuse me, I think a much underappreciated ability uh, is curiosity. And I speak of it as an ability because it's something that it's a tool that we have that enables us to learn, that enables us to build, that enables us to connect. But instead of thinking we know it all,
Yes,
or our way is best, I love the question, you know, how did you come to that conclusion? That's interesting. Tell me more about it. So a real curiosity, not just active listening, but truly developing an interest in what other people are thinking and saying.
yes, yes. Wise words from Kim today. Yes, Kim, I'm curious if your younger self were to watch this podcast, what would you want to say to them?
I think I would like to say you are here to do something that makes a difference for other people, and you will accomplish that. And you will never stop wanting to accomplish that even more. But you're going to find your way to make that happen.
Wonderful. Kim Barnes, thank you for being with us on Opening Pathways today. I want to tell my viewers, Kim is also an author. I encourage you to check out her books as well as listening to this podcast. Kim, you have any final words about Conti, Barnes and Conti you'd like to share with the viewers?
We're a really friendly company to work with. We like to partner with our customers. We're very flexible and we are very curious. So we like to learn about you and then find a way to build that into the way we support your learning.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kim Barnes, for being on Opening Pathways today.
Thank you, Tom. It's been a pleasure.
And for my viewers, I'll see you next time.